My name is Rakel Karlsdóttir. I'm from Iceland, based here in Copenhagen, owner and founder of Rakel Karls Studio. So we do creative consulting and architecture consulting. It's when client reach out to me, both to help them to get the look and feel of the project. They also come to me if they're looking for specific architecture. They come to me and I help them to find the right companies or creative people to work on their project. In architecture, I do smaller building and spaces. The whole concept and the value that building actually can give to the client. As well, when we go inside, it's all about the spaces, like museum show spaces for a family actually that has a specific request. We're starting this year to create a collectible design, and that's a fine line between the functionality of a product and the art. I like my stories to have the beginning and the end, and if you think about commercial products, they never have the end in the end. They can be ongoing. It's fine for business, nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to challenge myself to create something that is limited edition and gives even more value to the owner of that piece. When a company or a person comes up and say, we need your help of creating this space to be even more functional for us or better in the atmosphere, well, it could be a lot of things. My specialty is just listen to the client, get all their information, what they dream of, what their vision is, what their focus, what the problem is, what they're needing. All that I collect together and I fold everything out in a certain way and start to puzzle it together. I create a pattern for it that is understandable for the client and also helps the client to know what they actually want and what they actually need to solve their problem. So I go a lot into the branding itself to understand the branding. And if it's a family, I literally interview each family member, also the kids, to understand. Because if you think about a room that when you're a kid, it's your room. That's your four walls. It's not your parents. So, of course, it's about the kid in that room. What color, what furnitures, whatever, like what's the kid's interest right now and right here. And I think it's important for each one to actually, if it's a home, to live in a certain space that enhance you to be a better person, feel good, relax. And that's my mission, and I'm pretty successful of doing that. Architect is one of many like roles to be a creative person. I've always worked with my hands, done things. I've always been interested in materials, soft material, hard material, and I love creating. I love having an idea in my head. Then you start to sketch and seeing that paper become like a 3D model that you actually can touch. And even in the scale that you can actually use it for what you had in your head. That is what is like driving me for what I'm doing right now. Actually be able to create something that you think it will benefit the world, benefit other people, benefit myself and benefit other people, give other value, solve problem. I'm not only in architecture as it is like what we define it today. That's a part of me. Like I told you when I came, I'm not a typical architect, and I don't even know what a typical architect is, but I do so many things. Everything that architecture can touch, and that's so broad. And I love that. I love the combination of it. And that's the same why I'm doing collectible design. Is actually I'm going even further down and touching the art world now to combine it. And architecture actually allows you to do that. I'm a building constructor as well. Constructing something beautifully, combination of construction, combination of architecture as people around you, giving the society values, experience. That's for me is like the driving force of what I'm doing. The biggest passion for me is when you design something for somebody, you kind of look at what is the problem? Why do they need another building? What kind of building? What kind of people are going to be living in that building? Giving you something that you want and you need. That is what my passion is all about. So if I am able to understand you, get what your vision or wishes are, and I'm able to create it, and you go and say, this is exactly what I need. And thank you, this will help me to do whatever you need to do. That for me, I'll sleep like a baby. I would be like super happy. That's enough for me. I don't need a signature. I'm a signature in itself enough. It's always easy in the beginning because every word I say doesn't mean that how you hear it in your imagination is not the same picture as I have a picture in my head trying to explain my picture. In the beginning, it's usually easy to get along and figure out what it is with words because we have two different ideas of what we are doing. Of course, they're similar. They line up against each other, so it's not like it's two different worlds we're talking about. But as soon as something visual comes on paper, as soon as colors or material comes on the paper, then when you actually start to have the discussion, start to understand the client, because it's the senses that you need to get into. It's not only what he thinks he wants, because we want so many things, but when we actually see it and touch it, then we're like, I thought it would look different. I thought this will taste in a different taste. For example, when you go to a restaurant, you see a dish, and it's something that you're not used to see. You get skeptical when you look at the dish and you're like, I'm not sure if I should taste it. It doesn't look good. And as soon as you taste it, you're like, a whole nother sense, a whole nother world appears in your head. That is when you have to capture the right moment for the client, when you have the things, have the materials, the colors, the drawings in front of you. That is when you catch those moments in the client's head, and that's where you start to understand them the right. You feel like you're in a town in certain areas in Copenhagen. It's a nice feeling, and that feeling you get is because of the scale of the buildings, because of the details of the buildings. In the old times, we have so many details on our buildings. The facade, windows, doors, roof. As a human, you can relate to it because the scale is smaller. The storytelling behind it is so beautiful because each and every detail, they have like a time frame when they were made and why they were made. But when you see a building from 1880 or 1785 or something, then you stop up and say, wow, this building has been here for a long time. And the detail, the work they did, bigger buildings, beautiful made, and you can see the workers have done a signature on the building, their own signature, because they're so proud of being a part of this process, and they've done their very, very best to build this building up. That's quality. That's something that's going to be there forever. And that, I think, is lacking in the industry today. I want to bring the details back. And in each detail, there's a storytelling behind it. Imagine having a house in a countryside in Iceland, close to a mountain. And you know, Iceland, we have elves and trolls and all those creatures. Imagine having a little house, but the door is like 5 meters tall. So when you get a guest, the first thing the guest is probably going to ask, like, why do you have a 5-meter door on a 80 square meter house? And then the answer is obvious, the trolls need to come in. The story behind each and every detail and why you're doing it, that is something that gives experience to people, gives value to people, gives adventure to people. And that is what I want to do. I've been really lucky that as a mouth-to-mouth, like people talk about and people like hear about me. LinkedIn, from homepage, they found me on Google, you know, Instagram. From when I started here, the word just spread out. So people have been contacting me over these 2 years. For sure you need to do more, depending on how you want to grow your company. It's always depending what you want with this company. If you want to scale up really fast, if you want to take it easy, you have to realize the more projects you get in into the same time, the more people you need to work. The bigger battery you're actually carrying. Is that what you want? Or do you want to take the project each and every time when it ends? And then you can be the same people all around, like in the whole period. So it's totally depending on your business plan, what you want. But if you want to scale up, then word of mouth is not enough. Clients change their decision all the time, changes their mind all the time. One day they want red and the other day they want blue. In the beginning I was really like calculating, okay, this take this time and this take this time and this, and then I can take another project in here, had it all planned. And then it starts, each and every client was different. Some of them were faster, some was like way longer, but it was like they weren't in a hurry. Then they rather wanted to take the time. Doesn't mean that I was working on the project all the time, but we took it in bites, in bits, depending on how complex it is and if it's a series or not. For when you start the drawing and when you have the finished product. The project that I have now, it's not going to be finished until maybe 21. So, and we started it last summer. But communication is usually through like meet in person, phone and Skype. When it's not face-to-face meeting, I prefer that. I think that's always the best way. Then it's Skype meetings or like video meetings. If it's a quick decision process and you're in a different part of the world, I use WeChat, yeah. I have to admit, as a creative person, I always have open doors for whatever project it is, in whichever scale it is. I'm always open for hearing what it is. And it might be some part of it that I could do and help with. I'm always open. My doors are always open to listen to what it is. There's 2 projects that it was more, I didn't turn it down, but I told them what I could help them with. This is what I can help you with. This is something that you need another person that is better than I am. And I help them to find that person. For almost, I think it was almost 8 years ago or something, I had this vision that I could create my own company, and a part of the company could be people that the only thing they did was to like know what's happening in the world, like literally know what's happening in the industry. That's a maybe bad thing or a good thing, I don't know. I don't read newspaper, or I'm not good to sit down and read what's happening. I rather want people just giving me the headlights. I'm too busy in my own little world, in my own little bubble. It's like fashion. I like to see what's out there. I want to be conscious about what's happening, what is the chances, what are people asking for, what is the industry doing about it. I really try not to make it affect my creativity. Just because somebody's doing this doesn't mean that I'm going to do the same thing. I really much do my own thing. I'm helping a family as a creative consulting to work in their apartment. There's their mom and dad and 3 children. The girl is 9, the middle boy is 15, and the oldest is 18. To get to know the family and understand how they live, how they use actually home, what is home for them. I interview each and every one of them. I never have a specific questions. Because, of course, I ask them during the time, but it's more like about, what did you do today? How is the school? What are you reading? What kind of game do you play? Video games, and why do you like that so much? Maybe sometimes I say, what's your favorite color? Do you have any color scheme? It's something that you think gives you. I ask them, what kind of clothes to put on. If they go out for a good meal, where do they go? It starts to go in just a conversation. The reason for I do that, like why am I doing that? What do I gain from it to be able to take it further to my project? I actually get huge variation of their interest, how they see things, how they observe things from different places, different spaces. If it's a home or a restaurant or public space. They talk about playing with friends. Sometimes they say, I have a lot of friends. Some says, I only have 1 friend. That tells you a lot about a person. Are you really active? Are you not? How's your day? It's just to get to know the person better, why you are the way you are. Because the more that I understand you, the better I can reach to you through materials, colors, forms, like shapes, that actually fits to your environment. And the same is actually for companies for branding. Usually brands are more corporated off color scheme, typography. Always a why behind why they chose this. What do they want to tell the customers about themselves? When the customer reads the brand name, there's like one thought that should be in the head of the customer. And that thought is a reflection of what the brand is. If it's a family of 5 or a brand or like a company with a specific brand, I need to get underneath the skin to understand them, to be able to help them, guide them in the right direction. So doing a question is just talking to them. Automobile, motorcycles and cars has always been kind of a really inspiring way of both designing, building it, and just travel in it, on it. It's amazing. You can use it in a functional tool, you can go from A to B, but it's also just beautiful to look at. Motorcycles, cars inspires me a lot. I do motorcycle trips. I grow up on a horse farm. I try every summer to go trip in the mountains. When I was younger, we were sometimes 14 days, 20 people with 70 horses up in the mountains, going over the mountains in 14 days. It's incredible how the nature inspires me, gives me so much energy. If it's a flatland, mountains, forest, it's the shape of the nature, the colors, it's great. I love traveling. Even though I'm doing furniture, architecture or consulting, seeing the opportunity in each project, solving the problems in each project. And it actually doesn't matter which scale we're talking about. That is the core for my company. But if a company has specialized in one direction and people know them, their clients know them that they do residential buildings in any kind of scale maybe. And then they say, okay, we would like to go more into commercial. We want to span that to be a part. They need to find what is the core to the both of them. What is the connection to these two worlds? So what you do, you start to define what they have in common. What is the same core for those two things? When you start to find that, you also define what is not. Let's say it's like totally different field, but you need to figure out like what is the same ingredients and what is the ingredients that define them different from each other. So when you find that, you already can explain the client why you're doing this and why you can be good at it because they have the same core of specialize them into. So the client trusts you and believes that you can make this project. You have the know-how of the core that is the same. Expanding yourself, you just need to define what it is actually you're expanding and how you actually tell the client. You're not telling there's something new, it's just an add-on of something that you already know. My biggest frustration is when companies tells that they're going to do something, as well you have it in writing or whatever, doesn't matter. Just when you get a notification that the company is going to do something and then they don't. My biggest frustration when you have workers working on a project, the quality, the end result is just not good enough. And you really feel the lack of wanting to do as good as you can. The laziness frustrates me like so much. People don't do what they tells you what they're gonna do. And it's even worse working on something, building something that you've designed, and the out result is so bad that you actually end up hiring somebody new to do the finish. When you really see this work is not good enough, it's not in the field of the professional. I mean, uneducated person could do better, but you're hiring educated people to do the flooring, for example, and then you have to get another person to see if they agree with you or not, and you have 3 people saying this is not good enough work, then you have a whole floor of apartment that's not good enough put down. That sucks so bad. The only thing I can say when I've been working with more corporate architecture company is lack of detailing. It takes a lot of time to get involved with a brand or a person or family. That time, a lot of company don't have. Meaning a lot of company have an overview of how the project is going to be, but the whole detailing are missing. It's totally understandable because they are looking at the big picture and they're solving maybe the bigger problems. You're a person, you can only be in one room at a time. And for a functional room, you need to go into the detailing as well. And a lot of those details are missing, both for the look at the housing, as well the functionality of each and every room. Time costs money. From business perspective, you need to be able to work on certain project within a certain timeline to be able to get the next one and the next one and the next one. If you have a huge architecture company, within that time you have certain hours that you offer the client, that the client buys. Even though the company puts so many more hours into the project, there's still sometimes the projects are so big that you can't, like, you don't go into the detailing. That's why after, like, interior design company, interior architecture company comes and gets plugged on to a bigger company that is like taking care of the housing, so they can take care of that part. Instead of one company try to accomplish everything, you focus on what you're really good at and what you have actually sold to the company, why the client has come to you, that you should do, and then put another company on top of it on site and plug it in to be focused on the detailing. But often the project gets too expensive compared to the value of what you're creating. It's not that it's lack of creativity, it's more like a collaboration. Working at the cover company, they prioritize their value to what the client needs and request. That's the big picture of it. It's not a lack of the interest of the client. It's about having a time to solve each and every problem. And then you need to prioritize. And that is what I think collaboration with another company will help in many ways. Of course, there are a lot of problems, a lot of challenges with that when it comes. But I think that's the way to create a better project that's doing more collaborations. I think in the future, every single home is going to be more technical, like the car industry. A lot of people are also like they look at like how to use smaller spaces. What I really hope what's going to happen in the future is we go, of course, and that's what the industry is like heading to as well, is more sustainable materials, of course. But what about material that actually grows and dies like bamboo? It grows and it's strong. You can use it as building material in some way. You can also use it in a design. But if you don't cut the bamboo down, it's actually going to die. It's actually going to rot. It's not going to stand there as a tree. A tree grows and stay there for like forever. But bamboo, it actually goes away. As well, like leather. I'm a fan of leather, but of course it's from living creatures. They're starting to develop leather that is made of pineapple, or leather that is made of mushrooms. And that, I think it's interesting how we can change the old habits to something new. Doesn't have to be the same. We're such a creature that it's so hard for us to try something new. We always have to refer to what we have already experienced. I hope people, not the industry, people that need, like you and me, needs a house to live in, are more open for new things to happen, so the architecture industry can be stronger to try different things and are willing to do it when their clients are more open to test new things. For me, sustainable materials is like common sense. Every single object I look at, I always look at what kind of material can we use for it and how are they made. Of course, it's better. It's all around. It's not about I'm doing a sustainable chair. I'm doing a chair. You should do what really matters to you. You should live your life and do what really matters to you. Because when you do that, all your energy and your passion in creating something is gonna be successful, no matter what. If you work on those things that matters to you, you're gonna be successful. And you're gonna give values to others. No matter what. That's it.